Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. You know who it is, and thank you for listening to this new episode of the Needle Drop Podcast. Before we get into the show, we want to remind you that this is a listener-supported podcast, which means it exists because of those who support it, and they do so in a few different ways. One, they get weekly downloads of this show via a monthly subscription on our support page. We will link you to it in the description box. Looks like this, button right there. Also, you can hit up our Amazon Associates link, where basically we get a kickback for all purchases you make on Amazon.com when you use this link. Only works in the US though, unfortunately, but you can use it to basically make purchases you were already planning on making on Amazon, and that helps out this podcast as well. Also, you can stream it on YouTube and share it with a friend. All support is appreciated. All right, thank you for listening again, and on with the show. Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd, and you are listening to a new episode of the Needle Drop Podcast. Thank you for tuning in, where we do weekly interviews with artists of all sorts and content creators and people who I think just are generally intriguing and cool. And who we have on the show today is a visual artist, videos, sculptures, a variety of different things. He's housed in the Brooklyn area currently, from what I understand, and he has created some of my most favorite music videos of the past several years. He's worked with artists like Portal and Behemoth and Chelsea Wolfe, Liturgy as well. I will link you guys to his website where you can watch some of his music videos as well. We are going to basically be interviewing him about these videos, about the current state of music videos and just visual arts and all that. Welcome to the show, Mr. Zev Deans. Hey, dude.
Thanks, man.
No, thank you. Thanks for coming on and just, I don't know, kind of peeling back the curtain from over what you do.
It's definitely my pleasure. I'm a big fan of yours as well.
Well, I mean, I think, I don't know, the first thing I want to ask you, I think the first music video that you've ever done that really struck me by surprise and just really grabbed my attention was that music video that you did for Curtain, which for that Portal track, which was easily one of my favorite music videos of that year. And it was just really a mix of different things. I mean, it kind of seemed like some old school sort of puppetry and set design was sort of involved in the process of making that video, but it seemed like there was, I don't know, but possibly a lot of digital editing and effects as well. But I mean, all of it seemed so grimy. I couldn't quite tell what was real and what was sort of analog and what was kind of the digital aspect to what you were doing. Because while it does seem to borrow like from a lot of, I guess, the visual effects that you would see in like very, very old like horror movies, like the type of horror films before they even had an audio track. You know, it seems like you're borrowing from that era of visuals, but you've just translated it into the modern era so nicely that it kind of keeps and maintains its sort of old school flavor.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that was the goal. That was definitely the goal. And that's a big reference point for the band as well. That they seem to be they're huge fans of Lon Chaney and all of. I mean, even the titles I used, I fashioned after some classics like Phantom of the Opera and the original Dracula and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, would you say those are, you know, your kind of major reference points for these videos? I mean, do they run any deeper than that, would you say?
For that one in particular, absolutely. Obviously some Brothers Quay going on there as well. Just a lot of handmade stuff. And my favorite part about that, like you said, the mixing the modern and the old is a lot of people thought it was stop motion. A lot of people who would contact me and want to work with me would assume that it was stop motion, and that means I totally succeeded in tricking stop motion and all. That would have taken 3 years instead of 1.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it didn't strike me as that at all when I first saw it, because it just seemed too fluid. Especially the whole part where in that particular music video where you're kind of going down the throat of the worm. which was really nightmarish. Can you go into maybe how you went about doing that? Because I mean that's one of the freakiest things. I mean, I think I've not just seen in a music video. I mean, if that sort of thing just showed up in a regular movie, it seemed a little it seemed Tim Burton-ish, but maybe a little too edgy for to end up in a Tim Burton project.
Thank you for that second correction. Yeah. I mean, that obviously, as a child, I was privy to some of his work when it was worth anything.
Yeah.
And then, yes.
yes. There's just so much. I don't know. I mean, I'm just sort of talking about the thing and guessing at it, and you're sort of confirming how I feel about it. I mean, can you tell me maybe what was one of the hardest things to execute about this music video? Like, give us a little detail as to sort of what exactly kind of, went into one particular aspect of it, which was really time consuming.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing took about a year. It was my first time I really forced myself to take a chance and do everything I wanted to do for a video. I think a lot of the times I would approach artists with these grandiose, massive ideas starting out, and I didn't really have a good, realistic sense of how to deal with a budget or anything like that. So that was kind of the first time I forced myself to do everything I wanted to do from start to finish, and it took a very long time. It took a lot of reshooting, and of course building the miniatures and figuring my way around some of the visual tricks, because you're right, there's a lot of digital stuff tucked in there to make things work, but most of it is handmade, and a lot of the things that move, the moving parts and all those, that's all real as well. So there were a lot of instances where I had to rebuild entire structures after realizing something wasn't going to work. Because I'm not very technically proficient. I'm come from an art background where things don't need to move or function. They just need to look good on the surface. So figuring out how to make that stuff work and also figuring out how to shoot it properly was a pain in the ass in general. As far as any particular instance when it became too difficult, I think I was having too much fun to ever feel frustrated in the kind of sense where it felt like it just isn't going to work.
Well, when you're working on what you love,
Yeah. But the whole thing was a huge pain. For the
so I mean, so you, considering how long you worked on the music video, you definitely were doing it even before the album was released, right?
I think I didn't approach them till the album came out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had been a fan of theirs for a long time.
Oh, it felt like the music video came out not too long after the record, but maybe I'm just...
It came out 9 months after, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like the album came out in early February, and then I remember it all this well just because it was... Yeah, like it was at least 9 months, I think. I think it came out in February, then we released it on Halloween. And so, yeah.
So how exactly, all right, so referencing something kind of direct that happens in the music video, what are sort of the mechanics of kind of the stage that you had sort of built together and how it kind of rised up and sort of appeared as kind of this worm form and the teeth kind of came in and it just kind of seems like so many moving parts that all need to like fluidly, sort of come together in order for it all to make sense.
You're seeing varying scales of miniature there. You're seeing the stage itself, which is we see in the majority of maybe the first 2/3 of the video, which is like that's maybe like I'd say that from what you see on screen, it's about 3 to 4 feet high, 5 to 6 wide. The stage structure that becomes a head, that's how big that is, and then so there's a certain scale of teeth and curtains and the room that all fit within that. And then when we see a full shot of the creature, it's actually like the size of a sock puppet, basically. So there's 2 different scales we're working in, basically. So like I would have to recreate the scene again later, smaller, to create the illusion that the whole thing is actually rising up and is just the head of a larger body.
Oh, all right, okay. And sort of in the midst of all these sets and these kind of hand designed, pieces that are going into this project. I mean, what exactly are the very subtle digital elements that are tucked in there that are kind of hard to, pick up on? Sort of like at one point where we're seeing this like, large widescreen picture of the stage itself with all these kind of white figures there. I mean, is there a white figure there for each spot, or, I mean, is all that kind of edited in there, or?
That was four. Yeah. 4 people, including myself, with hot glue guns, making tiny little ghost people for 2 days, I think. Maybe it was 1 day, but it felt like a long time because one of my friends talks a lot and wouldn't shut up. So it felt much longer than it would. The thing you see there, like the things that are digital are like, okay, so the main character is an actor in front of a green screen. My friend Bradley Bailey is incredibly talented, and basically, I'd have him film him with a noose, I'd film him on a couch, I'd film him. So we actually had him suspended at one point. So I worked with a friend who has like a rigging set up in their studio for that. So mainly what like the primary digital effects are just comping the actor into these scenes to make it seem like the stage is life size. That was the real trickery there. Most everything else is real.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the film grain is 16 millimeter film that was then turned into a transparency.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Digitally, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So that's what kind of gives it that old school feel, sort of shooting on that older medium and then transferring it over.
Yeah. Well, that was no. Actually, shot using a modern, relatively modern, based on what I could have afforded at the time. Digital camera, and then I used 16 millimeter footage that was from like the beginning of a reel, and then looped that, put it over it. But yeah, maybe I should have told you that's what I did, because that sounds way cooler, doesn't it?
That, well, I mean, before we started the interview, you said that it would take another question or two to get the truth out of you. So that's with what you said. So you're not lying. You're telling the truth. So moving on to this Chelsea Wolfe video that you did for the song Mirror, which was off of Apocalypsis, I believe. And I think one of the most interesting things about this video is just kind of those scenes where you kind of have Chelsea in kind of this grayish, greenish room with all the, sort of tree candelabras. And it's sort of interesting how you kind of got this feel going where she's sort of moving independently of the background sometimes. And I like how sort of the way that you've starkly contrasted her skin with her clothes and her hair, and she looks so black and white. It's almost as if she's sort of like this, this black and white figure from an older horror movie just kind of placed into this background that you've created.
That's a great way to put it that way, but that's marvelous. Yeah. Keep going. This is beautiful.
Well, another kind of interesting thing about the video is sort of the way you kind of threw those little old school waves in there, like sort of what was the inspiration behind that? I mean, talking to somebody like Chelsea Wolfe and kind of having her in the video, is there more difficulty when you're trying to, I guess, kind of do a music video where you're sort of trying to spotlight a personality as opposed to what you're doing with The Portal, right, where you kind of had like a really odd storyline there that you could kind of work with and sort of, do your own thing. Whereas with a music video like this, it seems like you've got to be more focused on kind of giving the artist sort of an aura, or kind of using your video to paint a portrait of the artist and kind of, communicate to the audience like what they're all about.
Yeah, I mean, it's just different every time. If you look at the work, each project, I mean, there's similarities, but ultimately I try to be as delicately catered to the artist I'm working with as possible. And with her, she's very shy, but she's also very graceful. And so it's a matter of like having enough going on outside of, because she doesn't want it to just be all about her. She's got a huge interest in film. She's a big Bergman fan. We both are, and there was a lot going on there. But I also made sure that we got enough of her in the video, because she's captivating. She's got a lot of power.
So do you kind of have an idea in your head previously as to how you want to showcase a particular artist? I mean, I think in a really odd way, in a way that I can't even really explain, so I think I'll need you to do it. I can't even really begin to describe as to how you sort of pictured Liturgy in the way that you did on the song Returner. You know, the visuals with kind of the old architecture, as well as kind of this weird angular mirrored look to almost all the shots that goes throughout the whole music video. Kind of a perfect way to paint a picture of the band. I mean, is this kind of what their music was inspiring you to do?
We were going to, so with them, I initially approached them with another big, grandiose, miniature-based idea that was very different than the Portal one, but it was equally involved, and they were really excited about it. And then the label thought it would be important to actually do a video first where we showed them, because I think that's one of the big talking points about them is who they are, what they look like, despite people just listening to the music and enjoying it for that. And so I had to quickly come up with something. And that was the song that we all agreed on would work as sort of a first single, because it was understood I was going to do two. And then it just sort of happened organically based on the lyrics, I think, and this sort of playing with the artwork from the album as well. This sort of, you have the right side up, upside down crosses, and all this sort of references to reflection in the lyrics, and this, even the nature of the name of the song, Returner. It's like it's facing each other. It's like there's just this kind of sentiment of inversion with the whole thing. So that just kind of sprang from that very quickly. It was all done very quickly and wrapped very quickly as well. And then we started working on the next thing, and then Greg left the band, and it all just sort of took a break. Yeah.
All right. That's there are other music videos here I just want to ask you about before we go, but what you just were saying there just kind of makes me want to ask you just about your dealings with bands and labels and kind of the current state of music videos and kind of what it means to be a creator kind of in this medium. Had you envisioned yourself kind of going down this road a long time ago? Has music videos ever or always been a point of inspiration for you? Or are you just, this visual artist here who just kind of saw a bit of a calling or a place where you'd sort of be able to fit in and create some art that you were really proud of?
Right. I mean, basically, I've always been an artist, and I've also always had music as a heavy influence. But I think I worship film more than anything. And I didn't expect to start doing music videos. I was making eye patches or something in this one point. And I started talking to Geneva Jacuzzi about she was interested in one, and then it just sort of happened organically that I ended up doing a video for her. I flew out to LA, stayed with her and Ariel Pink for a little while, which was very strange. And just all of a sudden I was a music video director. And I loved it because every single medium that I love to do all coalesce into this one thing.
Sure.
And which then just sort of reminded me of this film itself. And that's definitely going to happen now in the far to relatively nearby future. But I love music videos. I was raised on them. We all were. Our generation had MTV, and I think that it's just a perfect excuse to combine the two things I love more than anything. So I'm never going to get tired of it, but I might also start doing film as soon as I can. Yeah. So definitely, it feels like a stepping stone that I won't ever, hopefully, stop doing. Hopefully, continue doing it. But yeah.
Well, what's kind of interesting to me is sort of looking back at that. I guess Geneva Jacuzzi music video. I mean, it sticks out to me more than any of the other ones because it just kind of seems to me, ever since then, you've very quickly gravitated to a lot of groups that play a lot of metal music and a lot of music that's just generally very dark. And I think from the Chelsea Wolfe video to the Portal video to the Behemoth video to this new video with Ghost, you've drawn up a very, I guess, recognizable style in just like a handful of these music videos since you've been doing them.
Yeah. I mean, one you know, if the band sees something and they see that you've done it with a certain band they like, then all of a sudden you're the metal music video director. And I don't mind that at all because metal's been a huge part of my life. But yeah, my actual interests in music are much more broad than that, as you may or may not see in the near future. But I love metal. I think the Portal video had such a huge impact compared to the work I had done before that just sort of came to define me when people are looking for these things. And so I think a lot of labels, when they're looking for like the right package, they've lately been going for this big new Bilek for album art and me for music videos. And that's sort of a niche I just sort of fell into, which I certainly don't mind at all. But yeah, Geneva was the first one, and definitely still love her music and things like that as well. So it'll be interesting to see what happens as I branch out a little more.
Do you have any sort of music video projects coming down the pipe that you could tease toward right now, or is that pretty much under wraps?
That's a good question. I wish I knew that. I wish I knew whether I was allowed to say anything about them. I will say that I am about to start working on something with an act that I've worked with before. And then there's another one that is a little outside of the heavy spectrum that I'm about to work for as well.
Okay. Anything super duper duper close to finished, or just like already in the can and about to be released at some point this year?
Yes, there is. There's something that, and it's the label's just figuring out their release plan. But this thing was finished in the winter, and it's for a musician that I dearly love, who was prominent in the 80s. And this is sort of part of a comeback package. But he has a lot to do with Egypt, and that's all I'm allowed to say.
Okay. Okay. Everybody at home can figure it out from there. Yep. Moving on from that, sort of, knowing that labels want to get these music videos done, while it does seem that there's a very strong artistic element to what you're doing, and that, in the case of a video like Curtain, it seems like an incredible amount of artistic freedom in what you're doing. I guess what can't also kind of be forgotten in the midst of what you're doing is that it's also kind of promotional in a sense too. Oh
yeah, I mean, you're making a stylized commercial from one angle if you look at it one way.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I mean, I guess is that the kind of thing that I guess I don't know. I remember when music videos were first getting popular, there were a lot of older artists, guys like Frank Zappa, for example, who thought it was the end of whatever. I mean, people have decreed the end of everything at one point or another. Sure, absolutely. I guess do you think the videos can sometimes be a distraction from the music, or do they pull people deeper into the world of the band and kind of give them a visual component to kind of latch onto?
It absolutely depends on the director there. I mean, some people, I see a lot of music videos. You can tell when a director cares about the artist or not. You can tell when a director just wants to tell their story, and irregardless of who they're working with, and they've had a treatment sitting around, and then their agent connected them with the band, and they just did that. And then you can tell when a director cares, or at least has the ability to ascribe themselves to what it is they're doing, and take into consideration the artist's image and actually create an immersive experience that gets you closer to the artist or shows you a new side of an artist. Then there are bands that I really love, like that it's a very integral and important piece of a larger puzzle that paints a much broader picture than just a band, like an actual artistic world that people haven't seen yet. I mean, Devo had the entire stage presence and music video work. And I think they did a lot of it themselves, actually, or were heavily involved in it. And I really respect that, because they're taking music to a theatrical level in a way that gets people excited and have a lot more to sink their teeth into, basically. So, yeah, it all depends on who makes it, what their intention is, and if they're really a good director and care about the material they're working with.
Yeah, it's just really interesting, because it just kind of seems like the deeper we get into the internet age, it seems like the more forms of art musicians need to be dabbling in order to kind of stay relevant and, I guess, kind of keep people enamored with their aura or their style. It's rare that, you see famous directors, in order to, continue being a famous director or have a successful career, I need to get into music, but instead, you have musicians that need to be featured in music videos. They need to be working with stylists, and sort of keeping on top of what's the newest and latest thing in fashion.
I've been telling Portal to get a Twitter, they really should start doing that.
And that too, absolutely.
No, I mean, yeah, that's the thing. You have to have somebody run your Facebook, run your Twitter, I think you're going to be a viable pop commodity, but then not necessarily working in that world, and aren't as familiar with it as maybe someone like Mark Romanek is, who just did a Taylor Swift video.
Mm-hmm. What is that for, the Bad Blood video or something else?
I think he did one. It was like a dance routine.
Okay.
There was a lot of gray background stuff. It was like, here's the artist being simple, like just being who they are, but it still costs $300,000 and looks good.
Is there anything sort of at that mainstream level right now that music video wise has really caught your attention, as sort of or is sort of inspiring you in any kind of way? Because while I think you seem very well rounded, but then again you have this really sort of defined style to your videos so far that seems like you're not really pulling it from anything too new or anything, right, too far outside of like your very hardcore and passionate interests. It seems to me that you wouldn't necessarily need to be paying attention to the Taylor Swift music video beat in order to be doing what you're doing.
We might have just killed my career with one question there, by me revealing I know what Taylor Swift even is. But yeah, I think Diane, what I mentioned earlier, I am a big fan of videos. I'm a big fan of, I think they're brilliant, and I also just the fact that they sort of don these alter egos, because they had some other band before that, right? And they were like kind of normal people before. So but as far as like big pop stuff, I was raised on Michael Jackson and Madonna, and I think I'm also really into sort of like the politics of socialization and how pop culture is used to bring forward various political ideas or social movements, sometimes nefariously, sometimes genuinely. And I think I do keep tabs on a lot of the new stuff to a degree, but not so much where I can name certain specific things, like just sort of try to get a general swath of the trends that are happening. But,
I think, you just kind of mentioned Die Antwoord there, and I love their music videos as well. But to me, kind of a bit of an issue there is that, and they're not alone in this. I'm not trying to single them out, but you did mention them. To me, they're definitely an example of a group whose visuals and whose music videos are just way more elaborate and interesting than just the music by itself a lot of the time. And again, they're not alone in that. There are a lot of artists who I think kind of share that that possibility. Sometimes I think the music video, while it can be amazing, sometimes it's kind of a bit of a crutch, Maybe another example would be the band OK Go, I mean,
Yeah,
all the
yeah, I can't remember the last listen to a Diane Wood song.
yeah.
For example. So yeah, exactly. It can be, but it's certainly enjoyable. I'm sorry. I don't know if I let you finish or not.
Oh no, I guess I guess my question or my point is, you know, a music video to you is, I guess, is it disheartening when you kind of see a music video sort of, you know, surpassing the quality of the music so greatly, I guess.
Hello?
Hey, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, did you hear my question? Or did I break up?
No, I think it got cut off.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I was going to say, do you find it disheartening at all sometimes when you see a music video, like the quality of it surpass the quality of the music itself so greatly, so obviously?
We might be seeing some of that happen for me in the future, but yeah, I mean, I definitely can't think of anything besides something like Diane Wood where that happened. But I also haven't been watching enough pop videos.
Well, I think what's interesting is that music video directors like you, and not to say this has any, you know, you guys are certainly not to blame. You're sort of in the midst of a music industry that you didn't create. But what I think is sort of interesting is that when the music sometimes is maybe mediocre or maybe a little middle of the road, sometimes it ends up being you guys that sort of save the day when someone comes through with an amazing music video or an amazing music video concept that actually makes, you know, the song go viral on a platform like YouTube.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time, I mean, you know, there are a lot of bands that I love and I think are fantastic, but the thing is these days, if they don't have a music video sort of backing up at least one or two of their singles, like their record is essentially kind of dead in the water.
Yeah. I mean, it's a visual culture. I mean, especially this new generation we're talking about kids who are, their primary modes of communication are like one sentence tweets or like maybe 3-5 second vines. And they deal in the immediate, and music videos are far more immediately consumable than, say, going out of your way to read a review of an album and then listening to it and maybe listening to it, you know, a single or two. I mean, that's really the way you reach people. Image is a huge factor, and if I'm talking to a good band or like we're in talks about maybe working together, and then they get back to me and tell me their label, oh, well, they don't want to do a music video this time around. They want to put it all in PR or YouTube ads or, you know, anything like that. I think to myself, well, you know, that's a waste of money if you don't have something to show, because you're right, that's how people grab onto something that they might not have heard of before, oftentimes, even without MTV.
So as of right now, is there any sort of genre or artist, or I guess, you know, music video style you don't see yourself taking to very well? I mean, if you had to, I don't know, sort of come through with a music video that was sort of purely promotional, or if you had to do a music video, I don't know, what if you had to do a rap video or something? You know, would you feel sort of, you know, out of your element in those contexts?
That's a great, yeah, I don't know. I think one of the things I love doing more than anything is wrapping my head around something I've never done. So the boring answer is no. I would probably have some, I mean, if I was given we mentioned Taylor Swift earlier, I mean, that would be insane. As long as they let me do whatever I want, which they wouldn't, I could have a lot of fun with that.
The pipe dream is to do a Taylor Swift video where you're just allowed to do anything that you want.
Yes.
And just sort of off the top of your head, because I'm pretty sure some of Taylor Swift's PR people, they listen to this podcast. What is the concept that you would instantaneously go into if somebody handed you that dream project?
I would probably get heavily into the whole like pop star mind control thread. You know, there's like a lot of internet conspiracy theories around this stuff. But
oh wow!
And I think to have fun with a lot of that sort of Illuminati symbolism and Monarch Project, sex slave type stuff would be a blast.
So Taylor Swift would essentially be mind controlling her fans.
Yeah, essentially. She'd be like disseminating some new political platform, or like maybe wearing certain colors that signify a certain political party, or I mean, there's any number of ways you can slip things like that in. Because I love reading those insane internet, like some dark room in Wichita where some guy's breaking down like the Illuminati symbolism, like a Madonna video, or just putting those Easter eggs everywhere, and just would be a real blast.
Well, that's really interesting. I was just doing an interview with somebody who is a producer, a songwriter, goes by the name of Clarence Clarity. He has a new record that came out earlier this year, No Now, and it's a very digital sort of internet era sort of record, and a big point of inspiration for him, he says, was kind of the overwhelming feeling that you get kind of in the information age. And he says one of his favorite hobbies on the internet is to look into internet sort of Illuminati conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that that's kind of a bit of a point of interest for you as well.
Big fan. I have a lot of literature, occult and occult's relation to power, and I think getting into that stuff in a modern context, those sites are insane, and they just go on forever and ever. And there's better movie plots on those websites than anyone's writing in Hollywood. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, being from Connecticut myself, I've seen lots of theories about Sandy Hook being a hoax.
Yeah.
Which is pretty crazy. I mean, one video in particular where the guy went as far as to look at helicopter video of the parking lot where police had been parked and so on and so forth. The parking lot that was regularly used during the school day by teachers and faculty, and pointed out that in the parking lot itself, that there were no oil stains in any of the parking spaces. So that must be because the whole parking lot in school was built just to stage this event.
Oh, the whole thing was a set, right? Yeah.
The whole thing was a set.
Yeah, I love that.
Which, again, does not explain everybody in the town sort of not, seeing this school just kind of being there unused for years and years and years and years. And nobody coming forward to say that, but whatever. Yeah,
they're all in on it too, Anthony.
Obviously.
It's all paid for, and it's just a way to get Cheeto's new flavor off the ground, probably.
Would that be the eventual twist to the end of the Taylor Swift music video? It would all just be one kind of big Cheetos commercial?
Yeah. Which I think, I mean, they could use some new PR. I haven't heard much from them recently, so it'd be good.
Subway could really use some new PR. So you'd really be doing them a favor if you did some kind of work for them.
They've got it covered, man. Their slogan, "Eat fresh," couldn't have been more apropos when shit hit the fan there.
Do them a favor, throw them a bone in the next, I don't know what, music video for whatever death metal band you're working with. Just throw in a Subway logo in there for a split second, just to, just sort of flash it and sort of bury it into the back of the minds of everybody.
Oh yeah. No, just the big before pictures of the singer at like 350 pounds. Yeah, no, I actually have slipped a number of 1 or 2 frame things into my work. Try to do, and it's imperceptible, but it's there.
So, okay, so these music videos, the dark imagery, the Illuminati symbolism. Let's go into sort of what you were doing on the Behemoth video and that Ghost video recently, because sort of talking about that whole Illuminati thing. I mean, a lot of the themes that you did on both of those music videos, especially the Ghost video, directly pull from the occult.
Oh yeah.
Did you have to do a lot of research into that in order to sort of execute that into the video, or to sort of, your YouTube doctorate in those fields sort of just allowed you to dabble in the way that you did? Yeah,
I mean, unfortunately, it comes from a long many years spent reading books like that, websites like that. I love that stuff, and it's part of it now, and certainly steering the direction in the future of the films I want to make. But hopefully, but they're both very entrenched naturally, just because those symbols are so. I'm very familiar with all of them, and have done a decent amount of reading on subjects related to that. So it comes naturally at this point, I guess. The ghost video was kind of a pretty obvious combination of like sort of like the conflict between like the Ayn Rand sort of fountainhead mentality and the sort of like working class proletariat attitudes you would see in films like Metropolis. And the rest was kind of, there was a lot of Masonic stuff in there. That was a combination of the members of Ghost's interest and my own to sort of add all these elements to it. But it comes naturally, for sure, at this point.
Did you get an opportunity to work really closely with the band in doing that video?
I mean, they stayed in Sweden, and we did a lot of emailing back and forth initially. They had some vague ideas about they wanted an origin story for the main character.
Okay.
And for the new incarnation, and we just kind of bounced back and forth until we had a sort of loose narrative, and then I made it concrete. So yeah, I mean, it was a collaborative effort in coming up with the idea, and then for execution, I think I never met them. I'm going to meet them Sunday, actually. And we had a film crew, Levette, great job, film Zappa in Sweden.
Okay, so, I mean, there's obviously that conceptual element to the video. There's that element to the video where you do sort of, see those elements that are obviously directly tied to Ghost and were shot by that crew that was hired. But there's also a lot of clips from the video that seem like they're from other places.
Yeah.
I don't know, weird occult instructional videos they kind of look like.
Yeah. We've got a couple things in there of note. The Masonic ritual stuff is from the film called Forces of...
Called Forces of what?
Forces Occult, with an S at the end of both words.
Okay.
And it's 1943, and it was around the Nazis had begun occupying France, and so you have this film that's essentially condemning both the Masons and the Jews as a sort of collaborative effort to control financial structure.
So this was like Nazi propaganda?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Oh.
But the plus side is that it fleshed out from start to finish an entire Masonic initiation ritual. So, and you can see that in varying degrees on YouTube. It's fun to skip to those parts because the rest is kind of not that interesting. But the other one was you see very little of this one. It's silent French hardcore pornographic satanic film called Messe Noire. Which is a funny coincidence there, but that's also in there. And then we have Cecil B. DeMille's Madame Satan, which is a great deco film, 1930, and that's like, that's a very stylized, with some great dance numbers in it that essentially feature a big soiree masquerade on a Zeppelin, which goes horribly long.
The choreography is killer.
Yeah, oh yeah, quite good.
Well, that's kind of another element of what you do where the old and the new come together. I mean, you do have this original storyline coming through, but you've built it together through kind of samples in a way and kind of recontextualizing something old, which is, certainly something the internet age loves to do.
Yeah, oh yeah. It was a fun thing to do. And it happened very organic, sort of piecing together the puzzles from things I love to make something new. And it was just it was also necessity because they needed it done very quickly. And so there wasn't going to be much time to shoot something new, aside from just the band member himself. So yeah, it was out of necessity, but I was very happy with the result.
All right, man. I want to thank you for coming on the show and just kind of, again, giving us your opinion on sort of music videos in general, and just letting us in on some of these projects and what you did with them and some of the concepts on them, and just all the information you brought to the table.
Anthony, thanks so much for having me, man. And I love what you do. Keep it up.
Hit me up next time you drop a video, man.
I will.